says it's showtime. Hello. Hey, Facebook. Guess what? It is Monday and it's 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I promised I'm going live. I'm going live every day this week at 5 p.m. to talk about I Am Ruth. So I want to give you guys just a little bit of insight about the book, where you can find the book, why the book, why did I write it in the first place, who's in the book. So let's get into it. But before we do, I do want to be mindful of everybody who is out there right now that's struggling with someone who is battling with the coronavirus. I know friends who have lost loved ones. I know people who are in ICU right now who are fighting for their lives. And so just be mindful that while we're celebrating and while we're rejoicing, there's someone who is actually mourning right now, and there's someone who's actually grieving. And so we send comfort and prayers and love and peace to everyone that's dealing with the coronavirus. And so I'm hopeful that over the next 5 days, because it's 5 days at 5 p.m., and it's a good book on a road to Good Friday, which is this Friday. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the book. I want to share with you guys why I wrote the book and who's in the book. And today we're going to talk about Ruth for just a hot minute and kind of some of the struggles that she went through. So I invite you guys to send me questions. If you have anything that you want to know specifically, you can send the questions and I will be sure to answer those questions as we go along. So let's get into it. Who's in the book? So the book, I Am Ruth, is based off of the book of Ruth in the Bible. And inside the book of Ruth, there were 3 women. And one woman's name was Ruth, of course, and the other 2 women that were with her were her mother-in-law and her sister-in-law, Naomi and Orpah. And so as I was hibernating this winter, and I started thinking about Ruth, and I started thinking about her journey. And I know that as women, sometimes as single women, we get caught up in Boaz, and where is he, and when is he coming? And I had really started to think about why was he such a prominent topic in the lives of women. So I took some time, studied the book of Ruth, and I found out that Ruth kind of had her own journey. Like, she went through a lot. She went through a lot of loss. She had a lot of things happen to her that she really wasn't able to change. And a lot of what she experienced was because of her family. And so I started thinking about what would Ruth be like in 2019? What would Ruth's journey be if she had to do everything all over again, having gone through loss? She's got her mother-in-law who's grieving. What else would happen to her if she was placed in this time period? And so as I started talking about it in my mind, I said, you know what? I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to write a book about what her journey must have been like. And so part of what I decided to do was to be in a situation where I am thinking about Ruth in a 2019 concept. So the book, I Am Ruth. Ruth is the main character. Who is Ruth? Ruth is the main character. Why Ruth? Because Ruth lost everything. Ruth lost everything. And I totally related to that. I completely related to that, having come from a past where I had a lot of stuff, was living a certain kind of life, and then losing everything, trying to find my way again, trying to reclaim my life, trying to reclaim my relationships. And that's really what happened to Ruth. So that's why Ruth. So the question is, what did she lose? Part of what Ruth lost was her identity. She lost herself. She was so caught up in everybody else's pain that she was not in tune with herself anymore. And she wasn't in tune with the things that she couldn't control. And so she found herself kind of spiraling. And as a result, she's taking on the headaches of her mother-in-law. She's taking on the actions of her sister-in-law. She's lost her husband, and she finds herself kind of in a valley, in a dark valley. And so as we journey through Ruth's journey, we find out that there's other people who can change her situation. And some of it is not her. and some of it is her. And so that's why Ruth, that's what she lost. And so one of the things that I want to do as we do the group discussion this week is I want you to think about what you may have lost. I want you to think about what you may have lost. And if you can comment, and you feel free to comment, I want you to comment. What are some things that you may have lost along your way or along your journey? What are some things that you feel like you have had happen to you that you can't control? What are some things that you feel like you wish you could change? Because that's a lot of what happened with Ruth. She was in a position in life where she really couldn't control some of the things that were happening to her. But she had to identify that. So I want to be sure that as you guys stay with the journey for the rest of the week, every day at 5, be sure to think about your own journey. The book is called I Am Ruth and Everything Is Not Okay. And so I think that as we are even in this season right now, we need to remember that it's okay for things to not be okay. It's okay for it not to be all right. It's okay for things to be out of whack and out of sync in our lives. And a lot of times we are seeking perfection and we're seeking things to be just right all the time. And we do it in our language and we say, hey, how you doing today? Oh, girl, I'm good. Are we really good? And is it not all right for us to be honest with how we're feeling? And so the characters kind of face that. They're in a position where they can't hide. They're forced to go back to a community that had them kind of thinking really, really high of themselves, but they've been devastated by loss. And so I want you to be prepared. Be prepared. If you find yourself in a position where you're in a valley, things aren't going quite like you had thought or planned, life has kind of got you twisted up. That's about what this book is. It's about being in a valley and being able to change a situation, but you had to change it, and Ruth changed it through process. So my encouraging words, because I've already given my 5 minutes, one of the things that I do see your comments. So I got a couple of questions, and I'll try to hit on those real quick before I end. But one of the things that I want to encourage you with is Ruth was prepared to process. That was one of the things that Ruth had. She had some really great characteristics, even in the 2019 version of I Am Ruth. She had some time to process, and she was prepared to process. And so if you are at a loss right now, you're going through a change that you can't control. Something has happened to you. You have to be prepared to process. And what does that mean? That means that you can't control it. So what is it that I'm supposed to be getting out of this season? What is it that God is wanting me to learn? And I have to be prepared to process that. I can't just let it go over my head. I have to acknowledge it. I have to honor it. And some of the characters in the book didn't do that. And as a result, it took their lives off to other ways. And then some of the characters in the book did process, but they processed late. And so Ruth had to be prepared to process. So let me share with you where you can get the ebook. The ebook will be released this Friday on Amazon Kindle for $5. You can pre-order it right now on Amazon Kindle. I want to thank everybody who's already pre-ordered hard copies and e-copies. And if you have not done that, I want you to make sure that you stop and do it, because on Friday, we're going to talk about it a little bit more. Tomorrow, we're talking about Naomi, the mother-in-law from not a good place, and what all she actually went through and how her journey and her life kind of affected Ruth's life. You know, and that happens. We have people in our lives and in our family, and their actions make a difference in our actions. And how do you process that? And what is the pain that Naomi is not acknowledging, and how her darkness actually took her to a place that she really didn't want to be. So I'm going to give you guys the website again. If you want a hard copy of the book, you can go to KiraCheree.com. That's me. Kira means shining light, and Cheree means beloved. And if you want to get the ebook, you can do that on Kindle. You can pre-order the ebook on Amazon Kindle. And send me your questions. I do have one download to give away today. So the first person to comment in the stream, I am Ruth and I am Ruth, just like that, I am Ruth and I am Ruth, the free ebook is yours. So if you have any questions that you want to talk about tomorrow, remember this is a book about things not being okay and how we actually process that. So it's murder in here. There's a lot of death in here. There's some darkness in here. But then there's victory. There is love because Boaz does come. And there is a lot of good things that happens to Ruth. And so she rides her arc of life like all of us do. So if you are in a place of loss, if you find yourself in a situation that you can't control, you got to be like Ruth. And what Ruth did was she got prepared to process. So before I log off, I do again want to thank everybody for coming. Ashley Hughes. Free book. Oh, Ashley Hughes got the free book. All right. Well, congratulations, Ashley Hughes. And I will let you know how you can download your copy and anything else that you guys want to talk about, as the days progress in the week. Remember, I am Ruth. Next 5 days, we are in a situation where we are going to be processing and talking about I Am Ruth. You can get it online at www.kiracheree.com.